Police! If you're in here, anybody come out. Police! We got a third down in the living room.
From the outside, it looked like the kind of life people envy. A $1 million home tucked into the foothills of Utah, 3 young children, a successful, disciplined husband, a wife who appeared composed, accomplished, and devoted. Nothing about the Johnson family suggested danger. But on September 28, 2024, a single phone call shattered that illusion. A husband was suddenly missing. A story didn't quite add up. And behind the polished image of a perfect family, investigators would uncover something far darker than anyone imagined. This wasn't a crime of chaos or desperation. It was quiet, calculated, and carried out by someone who knew exactly where the cameras weren't, where the children wouldn't be, and how long silence could buy her. What followed was an investigation so disturbing that even seasoned detectives struggled to process what they were seeing. A case involving betrayal, manipulation, and a chilling lack of remorse. Tonight, we're telling the story of Matthew Johnson, a Green Beret, a father of 3, and a man who trusted the wrong person with his life. Because before we talk about how he disappeared, we need to talk about who he was and why that matters. By the time police received the call on September 28, 2024, something already felt off. Jennifer Gledhill reported her husband, Matthew Johnson, missing. She told officers he had said he needed a week away, that he didn't want to be contacted, and that she was only now growing concerned. On paper, it sounded plausible. Adults leave, marriages strain, people take space, but Matthew Johnson was not the kind of man who vanished without a trace. Matthew was 51 years old, a Green Beret, a member of the Utah National Guard's 19th Special Forces Group. That title wasn't symbolic. Special Forces selection is designed to break people physically and mentally, to eliminate anyone who lacks discipline, clarity, or resilience. The men who pass are trained to stay calm under extreme pressure and to be accountable in every situation. Matthew had done that for over a decade. Those who served with him described him the same way: steady, reliable, thoughtful, the person you trusted when everything mattered. His longtime friend and fellow guardsman Kevin Thompson said Matthew had a grounding presence, the kind that made people feel safer simply by being nearby. At home, he was just as committed. He was a father of 3 young children, ages 5, 7, and 11. He showed up. School events, practices, ordinary moments that quietly define a parent. He wasn't distant or distracted. He was present. From the outside, the Johnson family looked like success personified. They lived in Cottonwood Heights, an affluent suburb southeast of Salt Lake City, framed by the Wasatch Mountains. Their home was valued at over $1 million, a picture-perfect life. But behind closed doors, the marriage had already collapsed. By the summer of 2024, this wasn't a relationship going through a rough patch. It was a relationship actively unraveling. Divorce had been discussed for months. Court filings later revealed escalating conflict, tension that had moved far beyond repair. In August, Jennifer filed for a temporary protective order against Matthew, claiming she feared him. The request went before a 3rd District Commissioner, Russell Minus. He reviewed the evidence Jennifer submitted: videos, messages, recordings. What he saw didn't support her claims. In his written ruling, the commissioner noted that the videos showed Jennifer unafraid and equally confrontational. The text messages told a different story than the one she presented, messages in which she repeatedly berated and demeaned Matthew, sometimes appearing to provoke him rather than retreat from him. The protective order was dismissed on September 16th, just days before Matthew's death. The commissioner noted that divorce should have been filed long before the situation reached that point. Those words would later feel haunting. Matthew had already begun distancing himself physically. Friends told investigators he had been sleeping at a National Guard facility instead of returning home, not because of work, but because something inside him recognized danger. He told Kevin Thompson directly that the marriage was over. He was ready to move on. Divorce was inevitable. What Matthew didn't know was that Jennifer was having an affair, and the man she was seeing would become the most important witness in the case. 2 days before the murder, Jennifer brought her lover into the family home. During that visit, she showed him a firearm, a Glock 19X kept in the house. At the time, it didn't seem alarming, but in hindsight, it was a moment loaded with intent. Jennifer also made a deliberate decision about her children. She arranged for all 3 to spend the night of September 20th at her parents' home. The house would be empty, no witnesses, no interruptions. The stage was set. On the evening of September 20th, Matthew was home. Neighbors later reported hearing a heated argument. By then, Matthew had learned about the affair. Years of resentment and dysfunction came spilling out in a single confrontation. According to Jennifer's later confession, the argument was intense, emotional, final. At some point, it ended. In the early hours of September 21st, Matthew went to sleep in the master bedroom. He was unarmed, vulnerable, unaware that he would never wake up. Jennifer took his own 9mm handgun and shot him in the head while he slept. A Green Beret, a man trained to survive war zones, killed in his own bed. What followed was not panic, it was procedure. Jennifer later told her lover exactly what she did next. She placed Matthew's body into a rooftop storage container. She maneuvered it down the stairs, loaded it into the back of the family minivan. She smashed his personal cell phone. She drove his truck to a nearby neighborhood and abandoned it on a residential street, creating the illusion that Matthew had left on his own. Then she drove north through the darkness with her husband's body in the van. GPS data would later confirm her route. Somewhere in open land north of Salt Lake City, in Davis County, she dug a shallow grave and buried him. Then she drove home. Bleach soaked the bedroom. Carpet cleaners saturated the floor. Walls, blinds, surfaces, everything scrubbed. Investigators would later describe the smell as overwhelming. 3 days after the murder, Jennifer ordered a brand new mattress to replace the one in the bedroom. It arrived 2 days later. Less than 48 hours after killing Matthew, she went to her lover's home and told him everything. The shooting, the container, the drive north, the grave, the cleanup. When he noticed bruises on her arms, she explained without hesitation that she'd gotten them digging and scrubbing. He was terrified. He said nothing that night, but he understood immediately that he was holding something dangerous. He began documenting everything, screenshots, messages, timelines, and when Jennifer called again, he recorded the conversation. That recording would become one of the most devastating pieces of evidence in the case. When he expressed fear over what she'd done, Jennifer responded coldly. She said Matthew wasn't a person anymore, that she didn't feel anger, that she felt nothing. She described herself as the Queen of Hearts, explaining that she believed certain people were simply scum who deserved to be eliminated. She was already speaking about him in the past tense, already rationalizing, already reframing his death as something necessary. 6 days after the murder, Jennifer finally contacted police. She told them Matthew had said he needed time away, that he didn't want contact, that she was only now growing concerned. But Matthew's unit had already noticed something was wrong. He failed to report for duty on September 23rd. For a man with his discipline, that was unthinkable. Meanwhile, Jennifer's lover had reached a breaking point. On October 2nd, he contacted police and handed over everything, screenshots, timelines, and the recorded call. When investigators searched the home, they found exactly what the confession described. Blood beneath the bed frame, blood on the slats, spots on the walls and blinds, a brand new mattress, the smell of bleach everywhere. GPS data placed Jennifer's phone exactly where she said it had gone. On October 2nd, 2024, Jennifer Gledhill was arrested for first-degree murder and obstruction of justice. But the investigation wasn't over, because the evidence pointed outward, toward the people who had helped her clean up what she'd done. As investigators pieced together what Jennifer Gledhill had confessed, the case took a darker turn. What initially appeared to be a calculated, solitary crime began to look like something far more disturbing, a family effort to erase a man from existence. When police examined phone records and timelines, one detail stood out immediately. Jennifer hadn't acted alone after the murder. Less than an hour, they claimed. The truth didn't match. Records showed they were there for over 5 hours. When detectives questioned Thomas about the master bedroom, he made a comment that froze the room. He said, without prompting, that he did not go in where the incident happened. No one had told him there had been an incident. That knowledge came from somewhere else, from Jennifer. That single sentence unraveled everything. Investigators concluded that Jennifer had told her parents exactly what she had done, and instead of calling police, they helped her clean it up. They helped remove evidence. They helped protect her. In doing so, they crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Search warrants executed at her parents' home revealed more. Hidden inside a plastic storage tote, wrapped in a child's onesie, was the gun box for the Glock 19X, the same firearm Jennifer had shown her lover days before the murder. Rosalie's phone had been remotely wiped during the relevant period, erasing location and contact data. And records showed she was the one who placed the order for the new mattress. The investigation widened again. Financial records revealed Jennifer had asked her father for money shortly before the murder. "I need $13,000 by Friday," she texted. Bank transfers followed. Investigators began tracing accounts across multiple institutions, building a financial timeline that raised even more questions about planning and motive. On October 24, 2024, Thomas and Rosalie Gledhill were arrested, and charged with obstruction of justice. By then, the picture was clear. This wasn't a crime of impulse. It wasn't panic. It wasn't self-defense. It was a deliberate act, followed by deliberate decisions, and supported by people who should have stopped it. Jennifer pleaded not guilty. She now faces a staggering list of charges: first-degree murder, multiple counts of obstruction of justice, abuse or desecration of a human body, witness tampering, and possession of a controlled substance. At her bail hearing, prosecutors revealed that Jennifer had told her lover she would shoot herself rather than go to jail. Bail was denied. Then came another moment that stunned the courtroom. While awaiting trial, Jennifer sent a letter directly to the judge, bypassing her attorney entirely. In legal terms, it was an ex parte communication, something strictly prohibited. The letter was disclosed to all parties and read into the record. In it, Jennifer apologized for wasting the court's time and expressed hope that the judge's opinion of her hadn't changed. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't remorse. It was control. An attempt to manage perception, even from behind bars. As of now, Matthew Johnson has still not been found. Search teams, law enforcement, volunteers, and Matthew's fellow soldiers have scoured large areas across northern Utah. Prosecutors confirmed that a rooftop storage container recovered from water tested positive for Matthew's blood, validating key parts of Jennifer's confession. But the grave itself remains undiscovered. 3 children are waiting. They lost their father on September 21st, 2024. They lost their mother shortly after. And somewhere north of Salt Lake City, the man who should have walked them through life is still missing. Whatever verdict comes, that absence is the wound that will never fully heal. Matthew Johnson was a Green Beret, a father, a man who did everything right and trusted the wrong person. His family has asked for only one thing: for someone to finally tell the truth and bring him home. And that leaves us with the hardest question of all. How does a crime like this stay hidden for days, with so many people involved, without someone stopping it? At what point does loyalty turn into complicity? Let me know what you think in the comments. If this story stayed with you, please like the video to help keep Matthew's name visible. Share it so more people understand what really happened, and subscribe for more deeply researched true crime stories that center the victims. Thank you for watching.